Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. Today we're going to do a simple project, building a shelf for our greenhouse so that we can stack our 10 by 20 planting trays on with our transplants in them. So let's get started. The supplies for this project is simply some 3/4 inch electrical conduit, and we'll also use some conduit connectors. It depends on how big your greenhouse is and how big a shelf that you're going to need. Let's get to it. Okay, this particular shelf is going to be 16 inches wide, and that works out perfect for setting the trays on and supports them good. You have a couple inches of overhang on both sides. That way you got a better chance of them being stable. So what I'm doing for my particular one, I need 5 of these pieces of conduit, 16 inches long. Now, you can use a hacksaw to do this, you could use a pipe cutter to do this, or if you have a chop saw, you can use a chop saw to do this. Next, I'll go ahead and I'll clean up any burr edges on these so I don't have to worry about, while I'm working around it, getting cut or nicked. And then we'll get to drilling. And we'll do the other 4 that way. Now, we need to mark each one of our pipes that are going to support our slats and keep them equal distance. We want to get close to the end, but we don't want to get too close. Roughly 3/8. You could even be a 1/2 inch away from the end. Now, if your pipes are a little bit off, as mine are, as you can see, make sure that you run your mark so that they're all going to be even, so when you put these on, they'll work right. And then take and figure where the middle is from those 2 marks and mark for the center slat. Now I'm going to drill these, and we want to drill these in the center. A drill press works the best. If you're going to use a hand drill, you might need to take a punch and mark a little punch for the center of your bit up with. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole all the way through. Now, all these holes need to be straight up and down. We can't have this turned a little bit and then drill it. We got to try to do them straight up and down. And the easiest way to get them close is just get you a 1/4 inch bolt, and we got a little burr on there, but we'll take care of that. And with that 1/4 inch bolt, you can kind of make sure that it's straight, and then line up and drill your other holes. And it's going to be that simple. We're going to drill all the rest of it. One thing I want to be clear, I should have mentioned at the start, make sure you wear eye protection, because all these little pieces that are coming off here while you're doing this project, they're sharp, and we don't want to lose an eye. If you're worried about working around power tools, you might want to put on gloves. That give you an extra layer of protection. Okay, I have my holes drilled through here. Now you're going to need about 1 1/4 or 2 1/4 or 2 1/2 inch bolt. You don't want the shank of the bolt to be too long that you're not going to be able to make this up. Now on this particular project, I recommend that you use what they call a nylock or a self-locking nut. It's got this one has a nylon ring in it, so whenever you put this on, you don't need a lock nut or something to hold it. You just screw it on, and the nylon will keep it from backing off and loosening up. This doesn't have to be real tight. In fact, if you leave it kind of loose, it'll be easy to store this away if you want to take it down, because you can just swing it into a flat position and it'll just be as thick as 3 of these bars. So if you want it out of your way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up snug, and once I get this on, I'm going to drill the other holes, and I'll do the same with all of these. But what I can do now is I can take this level, and I can have my helper hold this and level it up, and then I can drill the other end. So let me go ahead and get the other holes drilled where I need them to be. Now once you start assembling it, you'll want to assemble your ends first. And I want to show you at 16 inches, this makes a good support for one of these trays, even the lighter weight ones like this. So it can have plenty of drainage and not warp. But anyway, you want to assemble this where it's on some fairly level situation, to where you're not going to have it all kind of twisted. You want it flat when you assemble it, and drill all your holes in the rest of it. Now mine is rather large or long. It's 18 foot 8 inches, and I have to join it together. And what I did here to give extra support is I joined the outside two at one position, and I joined the center one at another position. Now when I put my support bar in here, this will serve 2 purposes. One, if for any reason one of these clamps loosens up, these will be solid so it won't pull apart. And 2, it'll give a little bit more strength at this connection to make this just a little bit stronger. But take that in consideration if you're making something that long. And make sure once you get finished with it that you have it supported properly, because we wouldn't want to support something this long on just each end and expect it to hold any amount of weight. Once you get it all bolted together, then it's time to hang it in your greenhouse. You could build some kind of situation, maybe even use a sawhorse type thing to set it on if your greenhouse won't support it. But in a situation like mine, it's plenty heavy enough to hold up. Now what I did was I actually leveled it where it's level going down. My greenhouse is set on a slight slope, but when you set your benches up, you need to have them where they're level, because what happens if they're not, when you water a tray, unless they're all trays with holes where the water can drain through, if they're solid bottom ones, the water will tend to pull at one side instead of being even at both sides. And a lot of times what I do is I let these kind of dry down a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and give them a good drink at one time. And I like to do it from the bottom once they get established. That encourage the roots to go down. But also what I've done now, I've used turnbuckles on the front. I took and leveled the back. I've used 19 gauge wire, the same brace wire you can buy at Tractor Supply that I use for my row cover hoops. It's good and sturdy, but I put turnbuckles on the front so I could level the shelf from front to back. And now what I'm going to need to do is move the rest of the plants from over here. And when I put this shelf in, I put it in temporarily. So what I'm going to do is adjust the height on it, get it where it's leveled from one end to the other. That way I can use solid trays there. If you're going to grow crops underneath your transplants, you probably don't want a lot of that water and compost or whatever dripping on, especially a lot of times in the wintertime you might grow lettuce or something in a greenhouse, and you don't want that all getting on your leaves and getting them dirty and stuff. So anyway, that's what it looks like, and I hope this simple shelf gives you an idea maybe for your problem, getting your transplants in your greenhouse or wherever you need them. This shelf can be taken out fairly easy, or I can just unhook the turnbuckles and drop it and let it lay to the side until I need it again. So, but what I did was, the intent is to put a second shelf over on that side, but this side over here is the south facing side, and I didn't want to block that much light with two shelves high here, so to make too much of a shadow inside. Now on the other side, I'm not worried about it. It could affect some of the crops that are outside on the one row, but it's about 3 foot from the greenhouse, so the only time it would really affect those would be winter, and the crops that I plant there I'll do with not quite as much light. If you like this, well, hit that like button, and of course if you want to see more, hit subscribe, hit the bell button, and if you think it could help someone else, go ahead and share it. Happy gardening.